folks, I got a great one for you tonight. The playoffs are upon us. Halloween is upon us, and we got a great show tonight. So make sure you stick around for the Bailey Pod tonight because, again, we got Matt Trowbridge in the house from RR Star. We have Harold Bone from rockton-roscoe News. And also, too, we got two special guests tonight, two Nick 10 stars. Defensive end, Barron Sholl. Harlem running back, all-time Nick 10 leading rusher, Jahmani Muhamad. Also, too, who are my Bailey Pod top performers of the week this week? Who are some of the teams that are actually in the playoffs? Who are those 6 teams? Well, you know what we do. Only way you're going to be able to find out, you got to go get your neighbor. It's in the last 2 weeks. Go get your neighbor. Go get your cousin. Matter of fact, tonight, just go get the neighborhood because that's the type of show that's coming to you right here on the Bailey Pod coming up next. And hey, folks, welcome to another great edition here on the Bailey Pod tonight. I'm telling you, it's going to be a hot one, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. First and foremost, before I start every show, I want to thank those who go follow, go like the Bailey Pod, actually those who actually view the Bailey Pod. I appreciate you. It means a million to me that you stop in and you listen to the Bailey Pod. Hopefully it's fueling to you. It's some good substance that you can actually take away and learn something. Not even that, just really understanding what these young men and what these coaches go through on a week-to-week basis. Again, I thank you for that. As long as you keep coming, I'm going to keep coming. This playoff edition, again, it's hot. It's going to be a treat. Yes, it's Halloween. Playoffs are looming. It's here, folks. It is here. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you guys again the reminders. Click that button in the bottom right-hand corner so you guys can be notified for all new hot content that we're going to be dropping during the week. Only way you're going to be able to actually be notified for that hot new content, you got to click the bell to be notified, folks. You got to click the bell. All right, I'm going to move on. I'm going to start with I start every show. I'm going to start my show with my Bailey Pod top performers. This is a really good list this week. These young men went out, performed for their teams, and that's why they're on my list. Xavier McElroy, Belvedere North, 152 on the ground, 27 carries, and a TD. Had a chance to see him play. Called him Baby Bettis. He ran real hard in their big victory over Harlem last week. Jahmani Muhamad, Harlem, 231 on the ground, chunking up those yards every week. This kid just continues to get better and better and better each and every week. 26 carries and 1 TD in their sour loss to Belvedere North last weekend. Eric Roman, Belvedere North, 100 yards on the ground, only on 9 carries. It was good, really good to see him really get back into that offense for Belvedere North. Angel Vasquez, Harlem, field goal kicker. Yes, I got a kicker on my list, folks. First time this year, kicker on the list. He made field goals from 40 and 30 yards in their big loss over Belvedere North last weekend. Messiah Tilson for the Guilford Vikings, 139 on the ground, 4 TDs and 2 touchdowns. He got busy. Since Guilford's had this young man in their backfield, Guilford's really been playing at a really high clip. Hopefully they continue this run what they have with him during the playoffs. So Keyshawn Taylor, Guilford Vikings, four catches, 84 yards, and a TD. It was good to see Guilford really get him acclimated to that offense and get him involved more in order to be able to make a good run in these playoffs this weekend. Cam Verner, Freeport Pretzels, 136 on the ground, 24 carries and 3 TDs. This young man he's amazing, folks. If you haven't really seen him play yet, make sure you get out to a playoff game. I know they're on the road this weekend against Woodstock, but this young man has really been a treat this year. It's been a thrill watching him play and just what he does on the field. He's not the most elusive guy, but he gets it done for his team. Congratulations, Cam. Guys, we're going to go ahead and move on. Again, we got an action-packed show tonight. Got a lot of guests to get to. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my first guest tonight. And he and I are actually going to just go through the show. And we're just going to, give our takes on the game that we were at on Friday night. And that was Harlem and Belvedere North. Matt Trowbridge, Rockford Register Star, folks. How you doing, Matt?
Doing well.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you again. Hey, I want to start with you. I know we both were at the game on Friday night. That was a really good game to see. Harlem, Belvedere North. They both were battling to see who was actually going to be able to share that co-championship with Hananiga. What were your thoughts on? Let's start with Harlem. What were your thoughts on Harlem? Did Harlem really play to your expectation Friday night?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the one thing they're missing is Nate Johnson, and he was fine as a quarterback, but he had a tremendous game the week before against Boylan, and I think they would have needed that to win. But my biggest takeaway is I've been here covering Nick 10 games for 34 years. You've been around that much. Other than maybe Steve McShane, have you ever seen a running back more fun to watch than Jahmani Muhamad? And he was at his most thrilling on Friday night. He was special.
Hands down, man. Hands down. Yeah, and I agree. I think Jahmani was playing at a really high clip, and this is something that I've said about Harlem all year. They need something a little bit more to complement Jahmani. Would you agree?
Yeah, and Nate Johnson did that the week before, and they do things that with Broom and now they've got Billy Cook and stuff that they can throw to. But the worrisome thing about Harlem. Jackson. I keep thinking Billy, his dad, was like, I saw his dad play and his dad coach. So yeah,
right. Yep.
But Harlem at one point was up basically 4 turnovers because they had onside kick recover too, and they needed those 4 turnovers to have like a 1-point lead or to be tied 20-20. So that Harlem's finding ways to be in games, and they did that the week before against Boylan, where they're kind of outmanned. But whether it's a couple big plays by Jahmani or by Jackson Cook, or they're finding ways to get the turnovers, I think they're playing maybe even above their skill level to keep the games close against very good teams in the league.
Sure.
And they did that against Hananiga. I mean, at one, they made it a 7-point game at halftime with a 104-yard interception return. So they just physically, they haven't matched up against the best running teams in the Nick 10, but they make a big play or two and get a turnover. They find ways to hang around. I mean, the game was 20-20 there.
Right. Yeah. And, in the first half, I'm just watching, Johnson, just try to really get high. I like what he does. He's a good quarterback. And, I think, going forward now as they make this push into the playoffs, I think, not just him, but everybody's going to have to grow up. And you're out of the Nick 10 now. You're on to the first round, but as it relates to what they did on Friday night against Belvedere North, I thought offensively they were better than they were weeks past. That run game that they have, I think that's Harlem's bread and butter, the run game. You have the all-time Nick 10 leading rusher, Jahmani Muhamad. What do you do as a head coach? You feed them. In the areas where I like to see them really get better, I like to see them maybe, I like to see Johnson, the quarterback, actually just be a little bit more, precise in his decision making. He threw some balls that night, and some were good, some were bad. Again, I get that. That's what quarterbacks do. They're hot, cold. But I think going forward, he has to really take control of that offense if they want a really good shot on Friday night when they face Mount Carmel. As far as what they did, go ahead.
Yeah, and Mount Carmel's defending state champs, ranked number 1 in the state. To have a chance, they're going to have to force teams to pass because they haven't always been able to stop the run. And if you can run on them all day, you're taking away their best defensive player, which is Jackson Cook. But they want people to have to pass because then they've got big play capabilities with their secondary.
Right. Yeah. And defensively, as it relates to Harlem, I just think that, they could have played better on defense. Right now, Harlem is probably, one of the, the worst tackling teams I've seen this year. They missed a lot of tackles. The young man, Xavier McElroy, he went for 152. And, he's a kid. He's robust. He's a big kid. They just kept tackling up top and not taking his feet away. Which was surprising to me, during, it's week 9. Week 9, you should have your tackling down pat. You shouldn't be making any mistakes in tackling, open field tackles. So that's my concern about Harlem going forward. Can they improve that tackling? Because again, who they play Friday night, this team is no slouch, and they hopefully they actually fix that in practice this week, and we see a better defensive play this weekend with Harlem.
Well, I'll say this, is that Harlem at least was there against North. I mean, I saw them against Jefferson and stuff where they were just huge holes. The holes weren't that big against North, but you talked about Xavier McElroy. I mean, I think he's 5'7", and he runs low. He keeps his pads really low. So they were hitting him, but they just weren't low enough. So he was able to, power through for another 2-3 yards after all the hits.
Exactly. And that's what I alluded to earlier. As you go back and you watch the tape, or you watch film, or you were at the game, you saw the Harlem defensive players tackling the upper body. They weren't going waist below. They weren't taking his feet away. And when you don't do that, as well as and I know, that running back's got to be able to pick up those extra 4, 5, 6 yards. And I think that's what you saw Belvedere North do on Friday night. As it pertains to Belvedere North, just a solid offensive performance, would you say, on Friday night?
Yeah, and that was one of the first times I saw people take the big plays away from North. They came out right away. The first 3-4 runs outside all went for like 20 yards. And then Harlem contained that the rest of the game, but it went back to McElroy and plowing up the middle. So it was a workmanlike effort for Belvedere North.
Right.
And that's they kind of need that. You're not going to win. It's great to have the splash, and you're going to need a couple of those, but you can't rely on that too much. And I think they showed a good balance of they can be tough, hard-nosed, and they can bust the big run. Kind of scary part, though, is I heard that Nathan Alexander,
he went out
with his arm or shoulder, but he's going to be out for the rest of the year. And he's he's got almost all their receiving yards. He had another 1-catch, 22-yard touchdown.
Right. Yeah, that's a big blow. Even though Belvedere North is not a pass-heavy team, but still, that young man seems to have a lot of leadership out there on that field. And I know sometimes the athletes, his teammates, play to his intensity. So that's going to be a big miss for Belvedere North. But, it was really good to see Roman get back into the offense. He had been missing offensively a little bit. I know he was, they were playing him sparingly on offense. It was really good to see him get back, back there in the backfield and get that ball and really run hard the way he does.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be interesting in the playoffs. I mean, Roman and Ben Bucher, they're getting 5-6 carries a game, basically, because they're two of their main defensive players. They've been playing on defense since they were freshmen. I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting 15 carries apiece in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna need it. I mean, we know what their bread and butter is, as it pertains to what they do offensively. That is Belvedere North. But they have to. I think, in order for them to be able to make a really good run in the playoffs, I think you're going to need both Roman and even Bucci. I know Bucci played quarterback, a couple weeks ago, but you could probably use him as a fullback. And the other young man, he really does a good job. Number 4 for them, he really does a good job of actually,
Ben Bucher,
make that.
Bucher
comes in and really makes some really good noise offensively. So if they can get, those two, Roman and Bucher, on the same page, they're hitting on all cylinders, week 1, week 2, depending on how far they go, I think Belvedere North's going to be a team that, people need to watch out for in the playoffs.
Well, and you mentioned Bucci. I mean, that's the other good sign for them is they did get their quarterback back, Tapia. He'd missed a couple 3 games, and Bucci had filled in well. But it's nice to have your starting quarterback in the playoffs.
Absolutely, yeah. And what they did defensively, before we move on here, Belvedere North's been really solid all year on defense. They probably have one of the better defensive backfields that we have in the conference. They got really great linebacker play. You got to tip your hats off to, how well they played against Harlem, because again, when you have a Jahmani Muhamad lined up back there, you could be in for a long night, and you just got to give kudos, to, where they didn't stop Jahmani per se, but they didn't give up the really big runs that we've been seeing week in and week out by Muhammad. Would you agree?
Yeah, but he must have had 5 20-yard runs. So he was excited.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was. Yeah, man. So, again, congratulations to Belvedere North and Hananiga on that, co-share Nick 10 champ. So let's go ahead and move on here. Let's go ahead and I want to just actually bring in our next guest before we get rocking and rolling. We're going to highlight this team. We're going to start with Boylan in our show tonight. But before we do that, we're just going to go ahead and bring in the man at Boylan. I call him the man at Boylan, aka Big B. Barron Sholl is with us tonight, folks. How you doing, Barron?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hey, just wanted you to actually come in and join the show. Number one, we thank you for being with us tonight. I know you're a busy guy, getting ready for a big game on Saturday. Barron, I just want to talk a little bit about, before we talk playoff week one, I just want to talk a little bit about the season. I know you guys finished 5-4, didn't finish probably how you would have liked to finish, and your other teammates as well. What type of year was this for the Titans over there?
I mean, a lot of adversity from our guys. Obviously, last two games we wish we would have had. Things don't go your way, but we're not going to get caught on them. We didn't get caught on them. We got on the next game. It's just a lot of hard work, and obviously it didn't go exactly how we wanted. Obviously, we wanted to win those games, but yeah.
Right. Shake it off and you move on, right?
Exactly.
There you go. So Barron, how is you guys getting ready for week one? You guys play South Shore, which is a 9-0 team, and you guys have to travel on the road. How's practice been this week? Again, you guys have lost, 2 straight, lost to Harlem 2 weeks ago, and then this past weekend, you guys came up sour against Guilford. How has practice been this week? And do you think you guys have the type of team that you guys can bounce back from those 2 losses and get on the road and get this big victory on Saturday?
It's been probably the best week of practice we've had all year. We feel really confident as a team, watching them on film. Yes, they're a 9-0 team, but the guys we think we match up pretty well. With having the sophomores up, it gives us, more prep team reps for them. It gives our starters more rest, with the smaller team we have. But the energy's been there. It's been a good week of practice so far. So
sure. You're a two-way player. How hard is it for you? You're Division I commit, Eastern Illinois. How hard is it for you to go both ways? I know you got to be in really good condition, but does that encumber you on defense at all in any way, shape, or form when you have to play on offense as well?
Maybe a little bit in the beginning of the season, but now I feel like I've built up enough stamina, and honestly, I like going both ways. I think if it's best for our team, I like it. It's not really, it's not too much anymore. You built. We're 9 games in now. I've built up the stamina for it, and yeah, I don't think it holds me back really. If I need a play or 2 off, then I take one. But at this point in the season, it's not really affecting me anymore.
Right. Sure. What do you? You guys probably started watching film on Monday or Tuesday on South Shore. I take it.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the tendencies that you guys see that you look to take advantage of on Saturday?
Well, really just some of their formations they run, and some of their personnel, their quarterback, their running back. Their O-line, we've seen some tendencies of the way they stand up on their, pass sets, just small things that we can pick up on, and formations and how we line up, and really just all that. So, yeah.
Sure.
They're
Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say they're kind of a complete mystery to me. They're kind of a new school. What's it like playing, a school that's, like I said, it's kind of a new school and it's a Chicago school? Do you know much about them, or is it going to be a little bit of a mystery when you get on the field exactly how good they are?
Oh, the film kind of speaks, but I hadn't obviously heard of them before this year, but that doesn't really mean anything. We've got a couple of games on them, watching film on them. They're a respectable team. They're 9-0. It's not easy to win, so not going to take them lightly or anything like that. And we're excited. We feel good. So, yeah.
And I know you've lost 3 in a row, but you also gave Hononegah their toughest game except for Belvedere North, and you led Harlem until the last couple seconds. I look at you guys as not a 5-4 team in 4A, even though that is your record. How do you guys look at what you can do at least when you're at your best?
I mean, Hano overall, we all think that was our best. Like we played the best as a team overall that game, and that's really what we're trying to get back to. And especially this week of practice, like I said, like it feels like that week of practice we had over Hano. We're starting to come back together. The morale's getting back good again. We're feeling confident. Yeah.
Barron, again, Matt just alluded to something. You guys again went 5-4. Again, you go to the playoffs. No one looks at anyone's record. Your opponent right now. You're in the playoffs. It's all about staying alive week to week to week, because again, playoffs. You win, you move on. You lose, you go home. You get ready for basketball. You go to training, do whatever you do. How important is it to the guys? I'm pretty sure you guys have had some conversations, particularly you as seniors. What do you guys want to try to accomplish, going forward?
Well, really just seeing how far we can go. We're a pretty heavy senior team, I'd say. So, there's a lot of heart in our team. We want to go as far as we can, as really any other high school senior would want to. I mean, every game is going to be like it could be our last game. That's how we're going to play. Yeah. So,
Matt, anything for?
Well, I was going to say I tend to think of in the classes that are 5A, 4A, 3A, whatever. In particular, I tend to think of the Catholic schools as being better than their records. I mean, last year we saw Nazareth go in 4-5 and win state. And how much are you looking forward to maybe playing? You've gone against 7A schools and 6A schools and held your own. To me, it seems like I was talking about South Shore as a mystery. I think you guys are a little bit of a mystery because I know you're a good 4A team. I just don't know how good of a 4A team you are.
Right. Well, I think that's one of the benefits we have being in our conference is, we play a lot of, I think every school in our conference is higher than us in class. So, I think that works out well for us in playoffs. And, we're cool with being the underdogs. I think, everyone likes being the underdog. Coming in there with a different mentality. Yeah.
I'm gonna shift gears. I'm gonna talk about offense a little bit. I know you guys have struggled a little bit offensively. You guys are playing a sophomore quarterback. You guys rotated at the beginning of the year. Quarterbacks with Scandroli, Cacciatore, then Williams comes over. Speak to me a little bit about where you guys are right now with quarterback play. Are you guys comfortable as a team? With the young Cacciatore, again, he's only a sophomore, trying to lead you guys through the playoffs.
They're still rotating Jaden Williams and Dom Cacciatore. They're both pretty much a 50 split rotation. They both have their pros, they both have their cons, and they're kind of piggybacking off of each other, but we feel confident with the rotation we have. We think it's gotten better throughout the season. They've both taken their strides, and we feel confident.
Well, how about your defense? Because I thought, Harlem got you a few big plays. But other than that, I thought your defense had been solid all year long until last week. How strong can your defense be, and what happened last week?
We plan to rebound off of that. Just honestly, we didn't come with the right mentality into that game. I feel like, guys got down too quickly. There wasn't enough energy on the sideline. There wasn't enough energy. It just wasn't a good enough game. But we plan to rebound off of that, and it should be a lot different. Like you said, all year, our defense has been playing really good. That's unlike us the last game that we played. But we definitely plan to rebound off of that.
Barron, before we let you go, again, you're getting ready for a big one. Obviously, you're one of the guys from the team who gets to go on and play at the next level. But, how has your prep been this week? Because again, you're going to be able to go on. You're actually a Division I commit to Eastern Illinois. What's your mentality like right now, getting ready for this big game? Because again, I'm pretty sure a lot of your teammates, they thrive and they actually vibe off your energy. What's your energy been like for the Titans over there this week?
Just relentless, I would say. Even though I'm going on to play the next level, I mean, it's high school football. I love it. I love football. So it's like everything, like, I don't even think about, yet playing at the next level. I'm thinking about, how far can we go? What can we do? It's all high school focused right now, trying to bring the most energy out of everybody, trying to get everyone bought in. And it's been just nothing but hard work this week.
Good attitude.
Oh, man. Awesome. Great attitude, Barron. Hey, folks, Barron Sholl with us tonight, Boylan Titans defensive end, Eastern Illinois commit. Hey, man, good luck this weekend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy. Yeah, man, that was good. It was good to hear him, just talk a little bit about, what they're, how they're dealing with this 5-4 record, because as well as I know, it's been a while since we've seen a Boylan team at 5-4. I think it's been over a decade, to my knowledge, that we've seen a Boylan team at 5-4. So I can only imagine, what those guys are actually, mentally, what they're feeling right now at 5-4. But again, like I stated earlier, I think you gotta put that 5-4 record aside and say, okay, you know what? They don't have a loss. We don't have a loss. We're going into another format. It's called the playoffs. You win, you move on. You lose, you go home. So, what was your take on what he was actually discussing with us?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's had such a great career, and I think he's right. I mean, he talks about they didn't really have the intensity they needed last week. Well, they came off of 2 back-to-back kind of crushing losses. I mean, Hononegah, they were in that game till the last 2 minutes, and then against Harlem, it felt like they should have been winning the whole time. But you give up an 80-yard touchdown pass, a 70-yard touchdown pass, a 101-yard pick six. I mean, and then a touchdown pass with no time left. That's all 4 touchdowns. Right. Well, I guess 22 seconds left or whatever, or 10 seconds left. It was on a 22-yard pass. That could have been a shutout. I mean, they give up 31 points and it could have been a shutout. So, yeah, then you come back the next week and you lay an egg. Well, I think a whole lot of teams would have laid an egg after that. I mean, it's, you have to be resilient to keep bouncing back. And, they're high school kids. Sometimes in the pros, they don't bounce back. But now, maybe now they're going in angry with a chip on their shoulder. I don't know, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I could see them going all the way to the state finals. And I could also see them losing in the second round. So it's, they are a good team, but they're not overly talented. They're going to have to play their best ball.
Right. And you're right, man. I think it's going to take a concerted effort on both offense and defense, special teams as well. I think the team that makes the least amount of mistakes this Saturday when they go over and play South Shore, that's the team that's going to be going on to the second round. So, hopefully we see the Titans moving on to that second round. Matt, let's go ahead and keep moving through the show.
The top seed, then all of a sudden they get the same road as that top seed would have the rest of the way too. Right. So,
correct. Now let's go ahead and continue to move through the show. We got some guests waiting on us. We're gonna go to our next guest tonight. This young man here is the Nick 10 all-time leading rusher. He's the Harlem running back. He had a great game last weekend. I don't have my stats in front of me, but I believe he had, if I'm not mistaken, he had 231 on the ground, 26 carries, and a TD. He had some would say that's one hell of a night at the office. I would agree. Jahmani Muhamad from Harlem High School. How you doing, Jahmani?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Okay. Good. Hey, we just wanted to catch up with you. We thank you for joining the Bailey Pod tonight. I know you're a busy guy. You want to get in focus for that big game on Friday night as Mark Carmel comes to Husky Stadium. How has practice been for you guys this week? I know, again, you guys are coming off the loss to Belvedere North. I'm pretty sure you guys have put that behind you. But how are you guys rebounding from that loss on Friday night to Belvedere North?
We're rebounding very well. We're treating it as it's just another game. Everybody's at practice. We've been going hard, executing, getting on the ball fast. On defense, we've been getting on the ball fast as well. We just been flying around at practice, and we put the Belvedere North game behind us, and we're just moving forward.
Hey, Jahmani, there must have been 5 times last week where I wanted to turn around to the person next to me and say, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And I was wondering if you ever get any kind of reaction from your opponents when you do something amazing and pop one.
Sometimes, most of the time, they don't really say too much. They're kind of quiet, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Jahmani, again, you've had a stellar career, and again, I'm just going to go back to the game on Friday. And what are some of the things that you guys probably could have done a little bit better offensively that didn't get done?
Honestly, I think we should have kept the ball on the ground. I think we had the run game going, but we kind of like slipped away from that, and we forced a pass that we didn't need to throw. So I feel like we should have kept the run game going, and I feel like we would have came out successful.
How about this week? You're going to play the defending state champs, the #1 team in the state. Yeah, I guess, what kind of a challenge is that, or how much you're looking forward to it, or how hard is that going to be to run against them, or what's it going to be like to play a team like that?
And I'm ready to play. I'm ready to showcase my talents against some of the top guys in the state. I'm trying to put my name on the map and show everybody that I can compete with those guys on that high level.
There's no doubt. We believe in you, Jahmani. We know you can compete on that level. That's for sure. Jahmani, talk to us a little bit about your practice prep this week. Is it different? Now you guys again, Matt. The #1 team in the states coming to your house, which is kudos for you guys because you guys have home field advantage. So I'm pretty sure you guys are expecting a good turnout. But how has practice been for you guys this week? Is it a different tone in practice than any other week?
I would say it is just because it's playoffs, but like I said earlier, it's just another game for us. We're going in hungry. We're just going in ready to execute and do what we need to do to come out successful. So I think practice has been going well for us.
Well, the last 2 weeks, I mean, you had all those big plays, the stun, and then you stunned Boylan in the last second. Belvedere North, you're losing. Next thing you know, you're winning and you're playing them. To have these 2 kind of topsy-turvy games against 2 teams that are at the top of the Nick 10 going into the playoffs, I mean, how good of a preparation was that?
It was a great preparation. The Boylan game, it went down to the wire. We were battling back and forth. And then the Belvedere North game, we were also battling, going back and forth. So I think that was really good for us. I think going into the playoffs, we're ready. We're not going to quit. We're going to keep fighting to the clock hits 0.
Well, is that kind of a special thing about this Harlem team? I heard Coach talking to you after the game and talking about, I'm not quite sure how you did it but I thought there's 2 or 3 games, like even the Hananiga game, it looks like it's a blowout. Then Jackson Cook brings back an interception, 104 yards for a touchdown, and you're right back in the game. It seems like this Harlem team finds ways to do things when I think the game is over and it's done, and next thing I know, boom, you're right back in it.
Yeah, me and the guys, man, we're really just bonding really well. We get along. Everybody's just on the same page. We just want to be a successful team and just be great. Yeah.
Jahmani, you alluded to something earlier, real quick. You talked about you want to put yourself on the map. With playing such a high caliber team as a Mount Carmel State, really a nationally recognized team as well. What are some of the things that you guys think that you need to do offensively in order for you to do that? Because again, all year, your offensive line has done a good job. Could they do a better job? Absolutely, they can. But what are some of the things that you guys need to fix offensively in order for you to be able to display your God-given talent?
I think we just need to really just limit the penalties because that kind of hurt us in the Belvedere North game. We were there and then we just hurt ourselves with penalties. And then we just need to do what we're good at. Don't get outside the box. Stay with what we're good at, and that's pretty much it. Just keep doing what we're doing, and we'll come out successful or put up a big.
Again, you alluded to something earlier, when we asked you about, what's the morale in practice, what's the intensity like, and you mentioned that, it's just really, not a lot of difference because again, it's playoff week, but again, you guys have a lot at stake. You win, you move on. You lose, you go home. So how important is this to Harlem Nation that you guys get this done on Friday night?
It's really important, but for us, we don't have anything to lose. They have everything to lose. So I feel like we knocked them off. That's gonna hurt them more than it hurts us. They're gonna be sick, and we're gonna have all the praise and all the accolades and everything. So I think,
sure.
It's not really a big issue.
Jahmani, what's the mentality like? Again, when you guys got film on Mark Carmel, I don't know, maybe Monday or Tuesday, or maybe even Sunday, you guys got film. You guys found out, they have 5 or 6 Division I commits. What was the mentality in the room when you guys got the news, that you were playing Mark Carmel and they had this many, Division I commits? Because I know sometimes a lot of kids can get starstruck a little bit, cannot play, to their true abilities, and they actually end up playing, below the level of their competition instead of actually elevating their game and actually playing to the level or beyond the level of their competition. How are you guys taking that?
I feel like everybody's rising up to the opportunity. I think everybody's looking at it as they got to suit up just like us. They bleed how we bleed. So, I mean, they got to suit up. So, put your best against our best, and we're going to go out there and compete.
Love it. Love your attitude. Matt, anything else before we let him go?
No, except that, man, I'm going to miss watching you run. I've been here 34 years, and Steve McShane of Freeport's the only person that was more fun to watch than you. And it kind of reminds me back of watching Barry Sanders in the old days. It's just, and the clip Tim keeps showing here is where, you're going one way, you stop, you reverse, and boom, you're outside against the best team in the conference. That's awesome.
And thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, Jahmani Muhamad, everybody. Thanks, Jahmani. Hey, good luck this weekend, man. Run hard, run smart, get it done.
Yes,
all
sir.
right. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, what a special kid. Yeah, we're definitely gonna miss him. That's for sure. He's definitely a treat. I think he's gonna be the key to their success Friday night, along with his, the rest of his teammates. But if he comes out, I think if he runs, how he has been all year, very relentless. Just running with the energy and the fervor that he's run with all year. I think they can actually stay in this game and maybe come out, sneak a W away.
Yeah, I think it comes, because I think Jahmani's going to do Jahmani things every game if you give him a chance. So I say it's almost down to his teammates. If, like against the Boylan game, what a smart game plan. Boylan came out committed to stop him. And I think his first 3 runs went for like 0 yards, but then they hit an 80-yard pass and a 70-yard pass early. So if Harlem hit some passes, and in the Hananiga game, when they were shutting him down, they got him a screen pass, boom, 70-yard touchdown. Right. So if they either find creative ways to get him the ball or make Mount Carmel back off because, they're hitting a couple passes deep downfield, then he can do his stuff. But I think they're going to have to do things to free him up. They can't just say, this is the number 1 team in the state, boom, you can do something special, whether, we have to make him worry about something else, and then we can hit him with Jahmani.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, they're going to really have to, just watching some film on Mark Carmel, they're big, they're physical. I mean, that's just in their DNA in that program. They always have big physical kids that are going, on to the next level. They got the big USC commit, but what I think Harlem needs to do defensively, and I stated this earlier in the show before we started, they just need to become better tacklers on Friday night, particularly playing against a really solid, well-rounded, and well-coached team as in Mount Carmel.
Yeah, and you got to tackle them right in their tracks, because if they even get another 2 or 3 yards, then they're not punting. They're getting, even if you
Right.
slow them down, they're getting 10 yards and 10 yards and first down. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be a treat. I think Harlem's gonna come ready to play. The outcome is yet to be determined, but
I lost you all of a sudden. You can't hear you.
did we pick back up, Matt?
Oh, now you came back.
Yeah, no, what I was saying, I don't know if viewers, I don't know where we cut out what wasn't heard, but what I was saying is that, I think, Harlem's going to actually really come out and play. They're going to actually play, I think, beyond their level of where they've actually played to all year in the conference. They're not going to look at who's on the other side of the ball because, again, I think, with them having home field advantage is a huge, huge bonus for Harlem. Would you say so?
Maybe. I think so much of it's going to be Harlem has been a very opportunistic team all year,
Right.
And I think they're going to have to do that again. They're going to have to have, a 2 or 3 turnover advantage.
Right.
They're going to have to break a big play or two. They can't play with Mount Carmel down after down after down, but they can play if they did against Boylan, 3 long touchdowns. They can play like they did against Belvedere North when they were up 4 turnovers at one point.
Right.
I mean, that's what they're going to have to do, but they've done that. So maybe they can do it again.
Yeah, it's doable for sure. And we're going to just continue to move forward. Our next guest is waiting on us from the Rockton-Roscoe News. Harold Bone is joining us tonight to go through our lineup, discussing Nick 10 teams and their opponents through the playoffs in this Bailey Pod playoff edition show. Harold, how you doing?
Good, guys. How are you doing this fine evening?
Good.
Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hey,
good to see you.
We're gonna go ahead and jump into the actual bulk of the show. We talked to a couple, the couple of guests that we had earlier in Muhammad and Sholl, and we know how they feel about their opponents, but we're gonna just explore a little bit and discuss a little bit, some things about the opponent, and also too, what are some of the keys to these teams, these 6 teams that are actually made the actual playoff. They're in the first round. What are some of the keys to their victory? So I want to start off tonight just really illuminating Boylan and guys. Again, they're 5-4. They travel to South Shore. What are some of the keys that you guys feel? We're going to start with you, Harold. What do you think some of the keys are to Boylan's victory on Saturday when they go over to South Shore?
Well, I know I heard Matt talking about this before. They're kind of an anomaly. I've tried to look for some film on South Shore. I found a couple of pieces here and there, but what I've seen is their competition level is not nearly at the level that Boylan's is. I'm not saying it's the worst I've seen, but it's definitely not on the level of the Nick 10. So I think coming out early for Boylan and setting the tone, either offensively or defensively, if they can get a score early in this game, it's going to give them confidence against a higher rated team. And then, as the guest spoke earlier, they've been working on that. A lot of intensity during practice this week. And I think it's only going to help the confidence of whoever's playing quarterback, either Williams or Cacciatore. I think that's a big thing. Is their confidence early in the game.
I agree.
I think those are all good points. My point, I would say, is that Boylan hasn't really run the ball very well all year. And I mean, they've been a running team forever, to me, how far Boylan goes in the 4A playoffs, a lot of it's going to be that their run game has to be better than it was during the regular season.
Yeah,
so Matt, do you think then that Williams might get a little bit more run early in that game then, because he's a much better dual threat quarterback than Dominic is?
He'll
look at that?
And he's been throwing the ball better. I mean, he started off only throwing dump offs, and I mean, he's been completing a lot of his passes. So I could see him do that. Dominic throws a pretty darn good deep ball. He's just thrown a few picks. So, but I thought I saw even in the Harlem game that they were playing Jaden Williams a little bit more each week. So that's interesting. I don't think they're going to stop doing the 2 quarterback thing, but I could definitely see if it starts working well that Jaden gets maybe 2/3 of the snaps.
And I agree with both of you guys. Got valid points. As it relates to Boylan, offensively, yes, Matt, yes, they have to get back to their bread and butter. They have to actually establish that running game early in order to have a chance to come out victorious on Saturday. What they haven't gone away from the run, but they just haven't been effective in the run game this year. I think that's what you.
Yeah, they've run a lot. They just haven't run well.
Right. And as it relates to the quarterback play, Cacciatore, I mean, he's grown up. He's maturated over the weeks. Yes, he's got a great deep ball. Where I like to see him really actually fine tune some things though is in that intermediate stuff. The slants. The dig routes that are coming across, hitting the crossers, and just being more accurate. And then also too being that leader. It's playoff time now, guys. You were a sophomore during the regular season. Now you need to become a junior. You need to become a senior now. You can no longer play as you did when you were a sophomore. It's just really time to grow up at the quarterback position. As it relates to Williams, go ahead.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly on Cacciatore. I think he's accurate enough. I just think he's got so far, and he's only a sophomore, so that would probably explain it. He's got a little too much Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston in him where he'll throw for yards, but he'll also throw it to the defensive back a couple times. I just think he has to be a little more careful with his passes.
Right. Yeah, he's got, and I think you mistaken me, but he's got arm talent. But what I was actually trying to say is that I think he just needs to be a little bit more poised back there in the pocket than what I've seen in weeks past. Again, it's playoff time. Your team, you're the point guard of that offense. You have to facilitate. Everything starts with you at the quarterback position. I don't think it's too much pressure for him. He just needs to understand, relax, be the actual point guard, distribute, and don't turn the ball over. They're going to be in good shape on offense.
Yeah, guys, I agree with that as well. One of the things I made note of, and this is just looking up scores, so this has nothing to do with talent that South Shore is playing, but they had 6 shutouts on the year. They're only averaging giving up 3 points a game, but again, against a different level of competition than what Boylan plays in the Nick 10. I think it's going to be important, whoever the quarterback is, if it's Cacciatore, he's just got to calm his feet down a little, calm his mind down a little. It's a big game for everybody for Boylan. But if Cacciatore gets to start, hopefully he can figure out a way to calm himself down and make some good decisions early in that football game. Well,
Harold, your first time, I think you really hit on it. You say Boylan scores first. I mean, South Shore hasn't been in a game all year.
The most points they've given up all year is 8 points.
Yeah. So if Boylan comes out and scores early and they're behind, that's going to be something South Shore is not even remotely used to.
Yep. And it's also going to take the crowd out of the game as well. And I think, that's their crowd out of the game, obviously. But, I think that's another thing is trying to get, the Boylan fans behind their Titan team.
I agree. And we're going to say an offense here with Boylan, as it pertains to their offense, I think you got to get other players involved. You got to get Anthony Lorenzo. He's come up big the last couple of weeks for Boylan. McNamara has been solid all year. You have to get those guys involved. You got to figure out how to actually, woven those guys into your offense so they're getting, targeted, 5 or 6 times, each and every series, when needed. Because again, based on Boylan's running game this year, I don't know if they really have a really true solid run game to really make a strong push, even though they're 4A. I just didn't see the talent. I didn't see the strong, dominant run game of the Boylan Titans that I've seen.
That's where maybe Jaden Williams is an RPO play. They can get him, fool them, do a little bit like Belvedere North does, where you don't know who has the ball, and next thing you know, the guy's 20 yards downfield.
And as it relates to defense, Matt, you alluded earlier, when Barron was on, how well they've been playing defensively, particularly the game against Hananiga a few weeks ago. I thought, boy, I thought that was their best defensive outing this year. Only thing I think what they need to do now, they need to figure out now how to play 5 times better than they did 3 weeks ago against Hananiga.
No, if they just play like they did against Hananiga, they're going to go pretty far in 4A.
Okay, all right. Well, I hope they do. That's my alma mater, man. I'm rooting for my Titans, but I'm just going by based on what I've seen over the weeks.
Sure.
They kind of struggled defensively. They were giving up a lot of things defensively, particularly in the secondary. That was one question mark that I had all year on Boylan. They need to improve the secondary. They need to improve their secondaries. The secondary, they don't play the ball well in the secondary. They don't come up and really lay the wood on the receivers, on the running backs as they should, playing in that secondary. So, but I do think they're much more improved secondary than they were in week 1 and, week 8. And now they're playing a little bit better, even though, they lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, I like Mikey Hernandez back there. I think he's a ball hawk. And then you got the others, the 3 Hernandez triplets, his cousins.
Yep.
And so we'll see how they do. I think they're okay. I mean, the Harlem game, they just overcommitted to things, but Hananiga, when, threw for 100 some yards, but almost all those passing yards were when the quarterback, ran around and, extended the play for 8-9 seconds. So, yeah, we'll see.
And guys, as it relates to their opponent, South Shore, I watched some film earlier this week. Just lack of physicality. I think Boylan is a much more physical team. I think they're going to be able to move some bodies, pick up yards, make big stops. They don't really look that great at the quarterback position. So, I could see Boylan, coming home with a victory on Saturday night against South Shore. Guys, let's go ahead and keep it moving, keep a foot on the gas here, so to speak. Let's talk about Freeport. Freeport travels to Woodstock. Freeport's 5-4. Woodstock is 7-2. What should we expect from the Pretzels as they take that road trip over to Woodstock on Saturday?
I don't know what to make of the Pretzels. When right when I started to think they were good, Guilford wiped them out. Their 2 best games were probably losses. The 1-point loss to Boylan and the loss in double overtime to Belvedere North. Though that North team, game they forced 6 turnovers. So who knows? But they looked good last week. And
I'm going to push back a little bit, man. I think Freeport's a much more better team, than what you're actually giving them credit for.
No, I didn't say that. I just said that their best games were in losses. I mean, they really should have beat Boylan. They missed 2 an extra point, and they missed 2 extra points in the loss to North, or they would have beaten Belvedere North.
Right.
So I was saying I thought they played good all up till they got kind of wiped out by Guilford. That one really kind of shocked.
Yeah. My big thing with Freeport, they have a bevy of playmakers. They've just been very inconsistent on both sides of the ball this year. And I think Coach Devin would agree with me. Again, they have to be able to – they're going on the road. They have to be able to play a mistake-free game in order to be able to come out with a W against Woodstock. Woodstock, saw some film on Woodstock. Nothing to sneeze at, but also, too, they don't do anything pretty. They're low undersized. They got a couple backs that can actually go to the next level 2 and get to level 3 and then take it home. But I think Freeport has a really, really good shot here. Again, only thing Freeport can't do, they can't shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, I'm actually picking Freeport to win this game. They have kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit this season. I mean, Peyton Walker, the quarterback, has thrown, I think, more interceptions than touchdown passes, and they don't pass that much this year. Last year, they did quite a bit. Cam Verner's a really hard physical player. They've got a kind of a physical defense. My worry is their offense relies too much on Cam Verner, and if you shut him down, you've kind of been shutting down their offense. Though they've had a couple, they can pass and make a big play, but they've also had too many picks that way. But Woodstock North, I mean, you know, all their big wins this year have only been by 5 or 6 points against 4A schools, you know. And so I'm not that impressed with them. I think Woodstock North is a team kind of like the middle part of the Nick 10. I think they're kind of like a, you know, maybe a Boylan or a Guilford or a Freeport or an East, the teams that Freeport's been playing. So, you know, I wasn't trying to, you know, knock Freeport. I'm just saying that they've been the hardest team all year to put a finger on.
Right.
Yeah, guys,
and here,
you know, I agree with both of your. Oh, go ahead, guys.
No, go ahead, Harold. Sorry.
I was going to say, I agree with both of you guys. Interesting. You know, I've looked at the history of both teams the last 5 years for Freeport and Woodstock North, and they're almost mirror images of each other. They've really struggled up to this year. Both programs have really struggled. You know, obviously Freeport not having made the playoffs since 2008. Last year, Woodstock North was 2-7, and honestly, their 2 wins were not great wins. They beat some winless teams, so they struggled last year. I'm picking Freeport because I think this is going to be the most exciting game for any Nick 10 team. I think they match up really well with Woodstock North. Woodstock North does have a very talented defensive end there. The games I've watched, he probably had close to 10 tackles for losses, and he had nearly double-digit sacks. I mean, the kid's really good, so they're going to have to worry about him. But other than that, I think both teams match up really well, and I think it's an advantage for Freeport in that they can run the ball, and they do have a quarterback in the backfield who can throw the ball. Now, is he a little loose with the football? Yes, he's thrown some interceptions, but I think that plays into their hands against the team who's coming in and really focusing on stopping the running game. Cam's a tremendous back. I mean, it really is. And I want to give credit to the entire Freeport high school program. What a great job changing essentially the whole philosophy and the way they did things from last year to this year. And then they make the playoffs. I mean, that's an incredible achievement by those guys. The entire coaching staff, all the players and everything. I mean, they were much more of a passing team last year. This year, they're trying to bang the wall. They're trying to bang the ball. That's what they're doing. And it's been successful, and it's really exciting to see.
Well, Matt, just to add a little bit to what you're saying, man. Yeah, Freeport's well coached. Coach Devon's one of the better coaches, I think, in the league. You know, I knew eventually he was going to get his break. You know, he's been at this really hard. I think he's been the head coach there over 6 years. You know, it's his time. You know, and I think you know what they're going to be able to do. You know, on Saturday. You know, as they travel over to Woodstock. You know, I got to go with Freeport this game. I think Freeport right now is playing really well. I think, you know, what Woodstock has is just not enough to really compete with the Freeport. I just don't see it. I've seen film, and nothing really actually stood out to me to where I thought Freeport would be in trouble or would even struggle with this team when they go over there on Saturday.
Yeah, I think
I think Cam Verner might even be a better player on defense than he is on offense. So it's you know. To me, it's going to be how far can you ride Cam Verner, and he is not a one-man team. I know they've, but I think everybody follows him. When he's out there, you know, getting in the backfield and really playing physical defense, it seems like everybody does.
Right, and you know, knowing Coach Oden over there, the offensive coordinator over there at Freeport, knowing him the way I know him, you know, he's going to spread the wealth. He's not just going to, you know, continue to jam Cam, so to speak. Keep feeding him and feed him and feed him. I think he's going to mix it up. I think he's going to get some other players involved. I think he understands what's at stake. Hey, you get a shot here. You get a shot at the playoffs, something that you guys haven't gotten in 16 years. Who knows when you're going to get back? So take advantage of this opportunity, and I think Freeport will.
Well, and I think another key in this game is that really Freeport for the last couple of weeks of the regular season, they had to get 2 wins in a row against Jefferson and East just to get to the playoffs. So they understand the feeling and the stress it is to play a game where if you lose, your season's probably going to be over pretty quick. So I think that's going to help them as well, or at least early in the football game as both teams settle in to what should be a normal football game. You know, it won't play as big of a part, but I think early, I think that plays a big part in the way Freeport comes out in this football game.
Right. I just think Freeport, you know, it's cliche as this may sound, but Freeport just needs to focus on playing, Freeport football, and hopefully that's a mistake-free game. So, guys,
Yeah.
we're gonna continue to move on. We're gonna go to our next team up here on our board, the Guilford Vikings. The Guilford Vikings, they take on Chicago St. Rita, which is 7-2. They're number 10. Freeport is number 23. Excuse me, not Freeport, but Guilford's number 23. Guys, what do we think of Guilford? Early in the year, Matt, you probably would agree. You've seen them play, but early in the year, we had some question marks with Freeport. Some things that they were doing offensively that we felt they should have been doing better. Defensively as well. I think the last show that you were on with me, Matt, I said, one of my questions to you, has Freeport gotten their act together? And I'm going to go ahead and answer my own question. Guilford, yeah, keep saying Freeport. Sorry. Has Guilford gotten their act together? And, I'm going to go ahead and answer that. I think Guilford's kind of gotten their act together. Remains to be seen. They're 6-3. They beat up on Boylan last week. Very impressive victory. They came into Titan Stadium and just pulverized Boylan. Since Tilston's been in the backfield, Guilford's offense has been pretty proficient.
Yeah,
the question is, can they continue this hot streak that they're on?
Well, the big thing, and I talked to Coach Capriati yesterday, and he brought this up too, is that the big thing is the last 4 games, they've been getting some explosive plays. And early in the year, they'd play a pretty physical game, but they'd only get 4 yards, 5 yards. It'd be kind of like the East offense. And without a big play, they wouldn't get to the end zone and they'd have to punt. And then after a while, things would break down. Well, now they're breaking big plays, both the run game and the pass game. And people have had to defend against the big play. And so now that sets up everything else. And Guilford has been a completely different team the last 4 games. They're now going up against a St. Rita team that had been to the state semifinals or finals 3 years in a row before last year. And last year they lost in the first round, but it was to the eventual state champion. So it's going to be the hugest test they faced in a long, long time. But I think, and I wrote about this, if they can win this game, they will be the best Guilford team in 40 years since they won 2 playoff games in the last 40 years. So it's, but the other thing that's interesting, because they had like 16 returning starters this year, 17. They're going to have 16 or 17 returning starters next year. So if they can do something in the playoffs this year, I think they can stamp themselves as a team to beat next year.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with you, Matt, in terms of, being a team to beat next year. But, I'm focusing on the now, and I'll just be honest with you. I think they just really need to be able to. They got to stay in the game. Meaning that if St. Rita gets up, they go up by 2 touchdowns. One thing Guilford can't do, they can't start lamenting. They're on the sideline. They have to continue to stay in the game, keep their composure, and play. I think I've seen that. I've seen Guilford play 4 times this year. And a couple of times that they've lost in games, I look over the sideline and, guys with their heads down, just kind of giving up hope, kind of capitulated early, so to speak. I don't know if Guilford's, they have that type of offense. They have that type of team, comeback team, if they go down early to a Chicago St. Rita.
Well, not against a team that talented, but to me, the Guilford game, it's almost like a mirror of the Harlem game. I mean, you got St. Rita or you got Mount Carmel, both of them top 6 teams in the state, both teams powers all the time. And Guilford, Harlem's got Jahmani and Jackson Cook, and they make these big plays. Guilford's the same way. You got Messiah Tilson, you got Isaiah Primus, and the quarterback, Grayson Weber is just a sophomore, but he's pretty good. Oh, and then Keeson Taylor, who's about 6'5" and 200 pounds and one of their fastest guys on the team. So Guilford is going to need big plays to stay in the game, but they have 3 or 4 different guys that can break big plays. So, they could get blown out of this game or they could keep it close. But I think a lot of it's going to be, can Messiah Tilson break a 70-yard run? Can Primus break through? Can Keeson Taylor catch a 50-yard pass? They're going to need a couple big plays. But if they do that, maybe.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing you say, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to have to get it done at the line of scrimmage. They're going to have, in order for those backs to have big games and for them to be able to move chains and put points on the board, that offensive line is going to have to win at the line of scrimmage. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I think what I'm saying more is because in the NFL, I get so tired where people always say you got to run to set up the pass or something like that. But I think it's more the other way around. You got to pass to set up the run. And Guilford cannot let them stack the line of scrimmage, but if they can get a couple big passes, then maybe they'll get room to run. But if you don't throw the ball well, they're going to get mauled at the line. And I'll say the same thing about Harlem. That's why, you can't let them stack their line to stop Muhammad. You've got to be able to passes and play him honest, and then maybe Jahmani Muhamad can break it free. But they're going to have to get something going in the passing game to open up the run.
And like I said earlier in the show, I was talking about Cacciatore. Yeah, you're a sophomore grade-wise, but when you step on that field and your mentality now through practice,
sure,
you need to be practicing like an upperclassman. Same goes for Weber over at Guilford. Yeah, you're a sophomore in class, but now you're playing one of the top teams in the state. You have to grow up. You now have to become a senior in order to be able to go out there and actually facilitate that offense and put points on the board and keep your team in the game and also to win the game.
Yeah. When it comes down to this game, I kind of looked, at, okay, St. Rita has a reputation of just being one of the most dominant programs in the state of Illinois. This team is not one of those most dominant teams. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're a very good team, but they're not as good as I would even say last year's team or either of the state championship teams. So there's opportunity for Guilford to get some big plays. Can they get enough big plays to win the game? That's a big ask for a Guilford team that they're a little sporadic in getting those big plays, either through the passing game or now that they've moved Tilson in the backfield and they're getting in the ball more, which was a great decision by their coaching staff. I really think turned around their season.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully that'll continue, for Messiah this year and next year and his years ahead, wherever he decides to play football. Right. But I think this one's going to be a tough one for Guilford. There's a lot of depth on the St. Rita team. It's just not as much depth that they've had in the past where they sent kids to Ohio State, Texas Tech, other Division I schools around the country. They do have a running back that's pretty good, Nick Herman. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. He's probably going to play Division I lacrosse instead of football. He doesn't have the top end speed like some of the other kids have had in the past, but and they're going to try and run the football a lot. So maybe they try and shorten the game, and a couple of big plays by Guilford can keep the game close, and then you let Messiah Tilson take over. He makes a big play in the return game. Maybe you can pull out a win that way, but this is going to be, I think, the hardest game of any of the games involving Nick 10 teams. St. Rita's, they're still very good, just not as good as they've been.
I think the Harlem game might be the toughest, but I kind of agree with everything that Harold's been saying. But 2 years ago, Guilford had this hard-nosed teams that got in the playoffs and it's got run over, but they had no big play ability. That team was, I think Javon Jones was the big bruising running back. And I think the fact that they've got so many big play guys, I'll compare it to a boxing match, and I'll say that Guilford's got a puncher's chance, but they're going to have to hit 2 or 3 big plays to have a chance. But if they do that, it's an uphill climb.
And again, guys, I hear we're talking about Guilford's offense. We're talking about the players that they have, the bevy of playmakers, getting the ball to them. But everybody in this show knows in order for them to be able to do that, they have to be able to execute effectively. And where does it start? It starts at the line of scrimmage. They have to be able to get it done offensively. That offensive line has to be the staple to actual Guilford's victory, or even staying in the game for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree with that, Tim. But I think if Tilson doesn't have just a legendary game, I'm not sure that Guilford's got enough in the tank to get it done against St. Rita. And I'm not going to pick Guilford in this one. Sorry to say, I'm going to pick St. Rita. I think they're going to be able to move on.
Well, and that's like going back to the lines, is that Guilford can't win on the lines against St. Rita. They just have to hope to not get killed on the lines. If they, if their lines can kind of hold their own, then it's got to come down to
right.
these.
That's
What's
that's
different
what I'm
about
saying.
this Guilford team is their skill players. They haven't had a
Right.
receiver like Keesaw Taylor. They haven't had an athlete like Messiah Tilson, and they haven't had two other runners like Chris Porter and Isaiah Primus. And their quarterback's got a pretty darn strong arm. So
right.
that's what they got to hope.
Again, yeah, and again, I think you guys are missing what I'm saying in a way, but in order for all this to actually take play, to play out, we're talking about these big runs and getting the ball to this receiver. Excuse me, we lost the audio. In order for them to move the ball, they have to be effective at the line of scrimmage. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, offensive line play is going to be a big one in this one. If they can look, all the explosive athletes Guilford has, they only need a crack. They don't need they don't need what any of the three of us would need to get through a hole. They need a crack and they're gone. Especially Messiah Tilson, he's got world-class speed. I don't even have run down the block in my neighborhood speed. Like, I got nothing as far as that. And that's why I think it's going to be fun to see Guilford play against St. Rita, even if the score may not end up where they want it to be, because you have so many explosive athletes for Guilford playing against, one of the more highly rated teams in the state. And they get to compare themselves. I know we talked about they got some junior, a nice junior class coming back. I know their sophomores played well this year. So they're in the playoffs this year. They get to play another game. They get to build off this and see what happens in the next couple of years. I know we're talking about the playoff game on Saturday, but it's going to be a fun game to watch. I will definitely be checking it out somewhere on the internet.
Just got to play the state free, like I've been saying about all these teams that we've highlighted thus far. Guys, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go to our next in the menu here. Mark Carmel. I know we kind of actually got into Mark Carmel early a little bit. We talked a little bit about Harlem, but I want to dive into this one just a little bit deeper in detail. We know what Harlem needs to do in order to stay in this game offensively and defensively. As I stated earlier in the show, Mark Carmel's got a bevy of playmakers that are going on to big schools. I know one of their biggest commits, I believe it's Braden Jones, defensive lineman, is a USC commit. What do you guys think in terms of how Harlem needs to actually approach this game and not getting caught up in all the, I won't even call it celeb status that they have on their team, Mark Carmel that is, but just the intimidation fear, so to speak, when you hear about 6 or 7 Division I ball players going on from one team. Can you guys talk to that just a little bit for me?
Well, I think on offense, Harlem's going to have to, Jim Morrow's pretty good at finding ways to get his fast guys in space, whether it's Jahmani Muhamad or Dwayne Broom. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him throw some screen passes or some slants over the middle. And if I were them on defense, I would overcommit to stop the run. And, that's going to be the hardest part. I mean, the good teams have run on Harlem this year, and you're just going to have to really overcommit and hope you can make him pass, and maybe Jackson Cook make a big play or two. But I just can't see Harlem's defensive line matching up with Mount Carmel's offensive line.
Right. And guys, the reason why I raised what I raised in terms of just the question I just asked, how do they not let the noise, so to speak, get to them mentally and they come out and really play Husky football? Because again, I've known of past teams in the area in the Nick 10 that have actually got kind of like distracted, so to speak, of players from the opponent's players actually going on to the next level, whether it be 5 or 6, 7 or 8 Division I kids going on. I think sometimes some kids look at that as as very daunting, so to speak.
You know, Tim, I don't know how you do that in today's world with cell phones, social media. Shoot, you walk down the hallway, I'm sure someone said something about a kid that's on the team if they know you're a football player on the Harlem team. I mean, I don't envy Coach Morrow and that staff this week on what they had to talk about and what they don't. I fully agree with what Matt said about it. Look, this is going to be a tough game. Mount Carmel's a good team. They have a stud defensive lineman. If you've not seen him play, you're probably going to see him play on Sundays at some point. He's just a tremendous high school football player. I think the only opportunity Harlem has is they're going to need to figure out a way to literally hold on the ball for quarters at a time, not possessions at a time, but first quarter, maybe half the second quarter. They need to limit possessions. They need to definitely not turn the ball over. But if they can limit possessions, I think they can keep the game close. Muhammad's a great back. I'm excited to see what he does against these guys. But again, this is going to be another tough one. How you get away from the distractions, I honestly don't know. Because you can't even turn on the radio anymore and not hear something, especially if you listen to sports talk radio anywhere.
Right. And I think, just piggybacking off what you said, I think, to complement Jahmani, I think, some other playmakers going to have to be involved in that offense. They're going to have to be able to pass to Cook. He needs to be a little bit more, ingrained in that offense. The other young man, Broom, they got to figure out how to get those three on the same page that Friday night in order to be able to even stay in the game. Matt, would you agree?
Yeah, and Cook gives you a chance.
You can't
for a guy.
You can't, and what I'm saying is, Matt, we sit up here. We know how great Jahmani is. We know he's a stud. We know he's one of the best backs that ever graced the Nick 10. But when you're playing against stiff competition, as you're going to face on Friday night in the Mount Carmel, and I know, Harold, you as well. You ride your horse, but also too you complement your horse by getting others involved.
Well, and here's Broom is one of the fastest players in the Nick 10. He's another small guy, whatever. And Jackson Cook at the end of the Boylan game, they just, he's 6'1" and he can jump and he's so great at high pointing the ball. You can throw it to him in a crowd and he might catch it. Like so often you see in the NFL, like, people need a big first down and the guy's smothered and they just throw it to his back shoulder and he gets it. So Harlem has ways to gain yards, even if a play doesn't look like it's going to work, but they're just going to need a bunch of them and they're going to need every break. Harlem can't match up with Mount Carmel on the lines, but maybe they can guess right and send an extra 2 players on that play and stuff them because you've got 7 tacklers and only 5 blockers, and then if they can cross them up, if you can throw when they think you're going to run, if you're going to run when you think you can throw, the one thing that Harlem's got is speed to burn. They're not as big as Mount Carmel. They're not as physical as them, but maybe they can, get a crack and go that way. I don't know.
I agree.
It's a long shot, but they have a long shot because they have these playmakers.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Matt, for sure. As I'm looking here at my notes, Mount Carmel's got a freshman wide receiver, Thornton. This kid's a freshman. This will be a really good matchup, with Cook. I'm pretty sure, you don't see Harlem play a lot of, man-to-man, but, if they do, I could really see Cook lining up on this freshman receiver. Cook's had a sensational sophomore year. I mean, no one can refute that. I think he's probably one of the best, or not the best, defensive back that we have in the Nick 10. They have, looking at Mount Carmel too, Elliott at quarterback. This young man's got a ton of arm talent. He doesn't really turn the ball over a lot. He throws things on the dime. He likes the money ball. The films that I've watched, he likes the money ball, and his favorite receiver to throw to is Thornton, the freshman. So it's going to be interesting to see how Harlem's defense rises to the occasion. They didn't play that well against Belvedere North last week, but it's going to be really interesting to see if they actually rise to the occasion on Friday night against Mount Carmel. Guys, we're going to go ahead and keep moving. Matt, not Matt, but anything, Harold? to add to that? Or
No, I don't have anything to add to that. I just think it's going to be, uphill sledding most of that game for Harlem. It seems as though, Mount Carmel's got kids going to play at the collegiate level everywhere. They got 3 kids that are going to go Division II that one of them doesn't even start for Mount Carmel. So, I mean, they're talented. Harlem's going to need to win the one-on-one battles. They're not going to need to win them. They're going to need to dominate them. They're going to need to absolutely dominate those one-on-ones.
Yep, I agree.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and that's a valid point you make. They're gonna have to win in all areas of the game, special teams, defense, and offense. And if they do that, we could see Harlem actually staying around this thing, guys. I really do. But they have to play a concerted effort in all 3 phases in order to be able to actually do so. Guys, we're gonna go ahead and keep moving through our list here. Our next team we're going to talk about is Hononegah. We know how well Hononegah's been playing these last few weeks, really all season. They're 8. They finished the season 8-1, co-champions with Belvedere North. Willowbrook comes to town to Rockton on Saturday, I believe. Guys, what does Hononegah really need to do, in order to be able to come out on top?
Tim, I don't want to correct you. The game's actually Friday night at 7:00.
Is it Friday? No, thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. I want to make sure that folks that are watching, if they want to come to Kelsey Field, they can surely do that. What does Hononegah need to do? They just need to be themselves, really. I don't think Willowbrook is as talented as their team last year, where Hononegah beat them 44-0 behind a tremendous performance from Isaiah Huey and Cole Warren. I had the chance earlier today to talk to head coach Nick Hillrith for Willowbrook, and he could not have been more complimentary of the entire Hononegah program. But he talked about, in particular, Dominic Kelly and his ability to scramble and make plays. And they know that they need to rush him differently than you would rush other quarterbacks, because if he gets outside the pocket, that's when he's going to make the big plays, because their wide receivers are really good at the scramble plays. We've talked about them many times. He was really impressed with their defense. Kurt Smith and Brock Anderson are 2 guys that he pointed out. He was tremendously impressed with the way that they play defense. Just looking at the things that I looked at, their offense is ran like the old Oregon offenses, where it's an up-tempo, fast style offense. They run the spread offense. They look to the sideline. They get the signal off of boards, and then they go. I mean, so that, I think, early in the game might give Hononegah a little bit of trouble getting the communication in from the sidelines to the defense. But one advantage Hononegah has is that they saw this speed and tempo last year, because they did play last year. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a concern after the early part of this football game. If Hononegah just does what they do, which is run the football, don't turn the football over, play good, solid defense, and rely on your special teams to maybe make a play or 2, I feel pretty good about the matchup here against Willowbrook.
Yeah, and I watched some film on Willowbrook, and not physical on D. I think Hononegah is going to expose their defense again. With the quarterback, being able to extend plays. Kelly being able to extend plays the way that he does. He's having an MVP caliber season. Again, I just really wasn't impressed with Willowbrook's defense. Not physical at the point of attack. Not a ton of pressure. They actually were getting on quarterbacks in a couple of games that I did watch. So, I gotta go with Hononegah, in this game, guys. I think they're going to really be able to exploit and really expose Willowbrook this weekend.
Yeah, my 2 takes on Hononegah is, I was looking at the bracketing, and I was surprised, but I don't think that forfeit loss really hurt them much in the seeding. I looked at who they would have played if they'd been 9-0 versus 8-1. I don't think that they really, have a much tougher road than they would have had at 9-0. But my other big takeaway is on Hononegah is, to me, the key for them advancing, and I agree, I think they'll beat Willowbrook easily. But as far as going down the road, I think the key is if Dominic Kelly can make the correct choices on the easier passes, because he is so great at extending plays, and he scrambles well. But there was a bunch of times in the Boylan game and even a couple times in the North game where he had a guy open early and he just kind of looked at him. And I don't know if he was getting greedy, looking for a bigger play, and they'd run around. And it's like, nope. And his best option was the option he had after 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and he passed it up. So if he can make the correct choices to take the easy passes when he's there, I think Hononegah could go to the quarters or the semis.
Yeah. And as it relates to Kelly, I think what he's going to have to do, as Hononegah continues to move through the playoffs, they got to get past this one first against Willowbrook. But I think they're going to have to establish the pass game, against some teams that they'll actually run into. I really do. I think what they do well, we know they run the ball. We know they're heavy in the run game. We get that. But I think as you get further into the playoffs, you have to have good balance. And I think Coach Zimmerman alluded to that last week when he was on the show, talked about, as you get deeper into the playoffs, you want more balance. And I think Hononegah is going to have to be able to, display that. Has their passing game been horrible this year? No, it hasn't been horrible. But Matt, you just alluded to, him escaping out of the pocket on the run instead of throwing it to a wide open receiver. He wants to run it. That to me, that's not good quarterback play. That's not smart. So he's going to really have to improve in that area and understanding that, when he has those receivers open downfield like that, you got to take that shot. Those are first downs.
Well, and it's not that he's passing it up the run. I think he's got a big play mentality. I don't know, because that's what they've been best at with their passing game is that he'll take 6, 7, 8 seconds and then he'll hit a big one like the one against the beat Belvedere North. That was just a tremendous play that I don't know if another quarterback in the league could have made. But I just want him to take more of the easy throws and instead of maybe always looking for something big.
Absolutely. Agreed. Harold?
Yeah, the simple plays sometimes are the best plays. We see that at every level of football. If you can, throw a nice 10-yard hook or button pattern or, a nice sideline pass and you move the chains, that's just as good as running around for 8, 10, 12 seconds on a play and trying to throw a deep ball, because then your offensive line might get called for holding down the field, any other, thing like that. And yeah, I think him just continuing to develop his passing acumen, I guess. I don't want to see he's a stupid football player at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he just needs to develop an understanding as to what are the best options with each play. And that's and that's a thing where, it's his first year starting on the varsity level.
Yes.
So
Settling for an 8-yard gain is not a bad thing. I don't know if when I think of this, I kind of think back to last year when the Bills playing the Chiefs in the playoffs and Josh Allen took a shot at the end zone and he almost completed a touchdown pass, but he had Stephon Diggs wide open across the middle. And if he just takes that easy pass, who knows? We might have had a different Super Bowl champion. But he didn't have to have a touchdown with 2 minutes to play, because then Mahomes gets the ball back too. I have a hard time ever passing up first downs. You get a free first down, take it.
Matt, that kills me because I'm a Bills fan. That kills me. I do remember that play.
I became a Bills fan just because of Josh Allen. He is so fun to watch, and but that's the example is that, and that's what Mahomes has done the last couple of years. He used to make all these incredible plays. Now he took away all his receivers. He just makes the simple play. He takes the smart. Forget all the amazing things he does. He takes, and that's what Brady did forever. He just takes the right simple play every time he can. And if he has to, then he'll do the special play.
And I think what you guys are saying about Kelly, he just has to become a better decision maker than he was during the regular season. Am I right? Just become a better decision maker. Don't turn the ball over.
It's easy to say when I'm talking about a high school kid comparing to a pro, but it is.
Yeah, but
that's how you become a great quarterback. You make the right choice.
Make the throws that you need to make. Understand what you are to that offense. You're an integral part of the offense. You're that point guard, so to speak, of that offense. Means that you don't turn the ball over. You find different ways to get others involved, and you make sure you're actually executing on offense at all times.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. You know, an interesting thing when I was talking to Coach Hillrith earlier today, he's best friends with Jason Brunke, the head girls basketball coach at Hononegah, and we were laughing about that. It was really cool. He told a story about them growing up, and you know, neither one of them thought they'd be working in a high school, and now they're both, you know, head coaches. And yeah, it was very, very nice guy, very nice guy. So I hate to say he's probably going to come to Hano and lose, but you know, that's why you play. That's why, you know, you're in athletics, to win and lose.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next team, our final team tonight in this list here. The co-Nick 10 champs, Belvedere North. They actually play. What are my notes here?
Canelan Knights.
Canelan. Yep. Canelan Knights. Yep. They play the Canelan Knights. Guys, what are some of the things that you guys think that, you know, Belvedere North's been that team, in my estimation, who's been really, really impressing me in the passing game. You know, and I think Coach Beck understands that, you know, he needed to get a little bit more balance. I think he was more balanced this year than I've seen in years past. You know, what are some of the things that you guys think that they need to do in order to get past round one?
Well, you're talking about their passing game. I don't think they passed anymore, but every time they threw it to Nathan Alexander, he made a big play, but now he's out with an injury. So we'll see about that.
Right.
Yeah, you know, kind of going into this game against the Knights, I don't know that Belvedere North needs to do a lot, anything different than they've done during the regular season. In this matchup anyways, I feel like they have the opportunity to run the football, keep it close to their vest, not really put the ball in harm's way, play good, solid defense against a team that at times has really struggled in this season. You know, they averaged 24 points a game. They gave up 2 points a game. Belvedere North averaged 35. Their defense only allowed 14. You know, they'll sprinkle in the passes, but I don't think not having Alexander in this game is going to hurt them. I think their run-heavy offense with Booker and Roman is going to be more than enough to get through against the Knights. I don't see. I think this is the best matchup for a team in the Nick 10 as far as
for sure
the biggest disparity. I wasn't all that impressed with Canelan when I took a look at him.
I mean, Canelan's been a good team for the years, but you know, they finished on a 1-4 skid, and in 3 of those games they lost by 35-point average, right. And they all lost all 4 of those games. 3 of them were I think 5A teams or 4A teams, and 1 was a Class 1A team. I mean, albeit the number 1 ranked 1A team. So, you know, they've been losing big to teams from smaller classes. So I'm assuming that Belvedere North will just overwhelm them physically.
Yeah, the best part of watching the film on Canelan was their jerseys. They're really cool. They look like a cross between the Raiders and Penn State. If you like that kind of design, you're going to love their uniforms. Go online, look them up. You're going to love their uniforms. But watching them as a football team, it left a lot to be desired. A lot of opportunities for the Blue Thunder. I think they're going to roll.
Yeah, I think this is one of the weaker Canelan teams in recent years.
Yeah. And I think, guys, offensively, I think what Belvedere North just needs to continue to do, and you saw it Friday night if you were at the game, but you know, they got Booker more involved in the offense. They got Roman more involved in the offense. I think, you know, with McElroy having the big game that he had last week, you know, you got 3 guys that can actually move the chains for you. You know, you just gotta, you know, hope those 3 guys are actually all on the same page, you know, that night, you know, when you guys go out and line up, you know.
Well, don't be surprised if their quarterback Tapia runs the ball 10 or 15 times. He's a pretty good runner too.
Yeah. And I think defense.
Bucci will come in and he'll do his business too.
Right. Yeah, Bucci. Yeah. We gotta love some Bucci. No, but guys, I think you know, Belvedere North, you know, their defense. Let's talk about their defense for a little bit. You know, as I watched some film on Canelan today, I just don't see Belvedere North really having a tough time with these guys on offense. I really don't. You know, I'm not saying Kane's nothing to sneeze at. Make no mistake, but I think, you know, how Belvedere North's defense have been playing, flying around, all 11 hats, flying to the football, coming up, making picks, coming up, you know, making big hits, making big stops, creating turnovers. I just don't see Kaneland being able to actually, you know, really do what they want to do on offense against a good, strong Belvedere North team like we've seen last weekend. Okay,
well, when North beat Freeport in double overtime, they had 5 turnovers and gave up an onside kick. You know, against was it Harlem that they gave up an onside kick too, and then had 3 turnovers. So
right.
That, to me, that's going to be the key. Is if North holds on to the ball, they win.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I think if they hold on the ball and they make smart plays, I think they're going to do that. Yeah, and we should give credit to North for bouncing back. The week after they lose to Hananiga on that really tough play, they had a chance to win the Nick 10 championship outright, and they come back and they were tied with Harlem late in that game last week, scored 2 touchdowns, and they take home a share of the conference championship. Kudos to Coach Beck and that entire roster, because they could have laid down and said, you know what, we're not going to get the title ourselves. But they answered the bell, so good for them.
Well, yeah, especially after having a 12-0 lead and seeing that disappear. Next thing you know, they're down 13-12, but they regrouped and they showed mettle.
And I think, Matt, you and I are both at that game. But, you know, I think what we saw, you know, both offensively and defensively and special teams as well, I think we just saw better execution, you know, in all 3 phases in the second half with Belvedere North. I think that's why they came out on top. The execution really wasn't there in the first half. Like it was in the second half. But, you know, Belvedere North's that team that, you know, as I'm standing there in the sideline, you know, during halftime, you know, you can look over to your left and you see Coach Beck just, you know, just trying to galvanize his guys. And I couldn't pick up what he was saying. But, you know, whatever he said worked. You know, they came out and they were different teams second half against Harlem. And, you know, that's why.
Well, they held on to the ball. I mean, they had that 12-0 lead, and then you have 3 turnovers and boom, things go south quickly that way.
Yeah. Well, guys, hey, this has been fun. I really appreciate you guys' time. I look forward to doing this again. Maybe round 2, depends who goes on. We do this again, and it's always a treat to have 2 guys in the news, your caliber. And again, I thank you, Matt Trowbridge from RR Star, and Harold Bone from the Rockton-Roscoe News. Guys, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tim. Always appreciate it. Matt, nice to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, it's nice to talk to you.
All right, guys, take care. All right, guys. All right, Harold, take care, man. Hey, guys, yeah, there you go. Yeah, this edition's in the book. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Very comprehensive show. Yeah, you know, you got some good teams in the playoffs. I think a lot of teams are going to actually be able to punch that ticket to the second round. Who will that be? Remains to be seen. Guys, I always conclude the show just by, you know, just trying to inspire and spur somebody who needs some encouraging words. And, you know, with a lot of things that are going on in the world today, I think we all need to hear positive things, you know, as we move through life. You know, whatever you did today, always know tomorrow you can do it better. So with that being said, just always know you can always better your best. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining the Bailey Pod tonight. We appreciate you. Tune in next week for more playoff edition on the Bailey Pod.